Now we're recording. Good evening, Shino. Let me just check that we're live. We're not quite live yet, so anyone who's watching the YouTube will see this. And here we are. G'day, Shino. How are you, mate?
Very good, thank you, mate. And those that did see that little bit of an opener there, you'd have to go to YouTube if you missed it.
Yes.
Extra footage.
There is, yes.
Do we have a
cut.
Do we have a bloopers?
Well, it's that would actually
arguably our entire footage across all the episodes.
Arguably, that would involve me editing some of the worst bits out, but realistically, that having bloopers entails a far higher level of professionalism.
That almost makes the assumption that on occasion we do things well.
Yes, yeah. No, I feel one day there'll be a video that we record that's absolutely perfect.
You think?
No, not really. No, I'm only saying. So, welcome, mate. Welcome tonight.
Yeah. Good to see. How you been?
Busy. Interestingly busy, but getting some stuff done and excited to have gotten back to the footy on Thursday.
Yes.
So,
how did you find the whole experience going in there for the first time into the old abandoned stadium?
Into the old abandoned stadium. They've kept it in pretty good nick. And I will
lots of dust and cobwebs about, were there?
Someone had clearly run around with a feather duster ahead of me, so that was good. What I found was great. 30,000 people. Well, there was 22,000 people in a stadium built for 60. You didn't have to queue up for anything. You didn't have to queue up for a beer, a pie, at the toilet. I even spoke to a workmate today who was at the game, and he said to me the worst part was his pie was too hot. Whereas usually it's sat in cooler long enough to cool.
The pie's too cold.
So yeah, these are some of the problems we have. I will say this. I'm not wanting to knock the people who work these out because we should be thankful, but every second row was sold.
Yeah.
Which meant that although I sat next to my mate Pete, on either side of me or on either side of Pete and me, there was other people. We still sat in rows. Now, I can't quite work out. I'm a long way from the person in front of me, but I can still turn around and talk to the person beside me. And, up and down the row, as we did, people at the footy. And it just seemed like, we've solved the problem distance-wise back to front there, but side to side.
Do you think it could have been a case where a little bit of common sense could have prevailed, where they could have advertised, look, we're selling this amount of tickets, there's going to be a lot of room. Use your social distancing skills that you've developed over the last X amount of months. Make the call, space yourself accordingly.
I think what you would find there, what you're relying on is people to do the smart thing, but I think what you would find...
we're relying on that everywhere else across society.
Yeah, but okay, but here's a problem where... Well, put it this way. Most people would go and sit, I think, generally, maybe in their own seats that they have as ticket holders, or go, I'm going to sit on the wing, or I'm going to go and try and sit in the premium seats that I wish I sat in during...
you think they'll all be sitting in clusters
because
they feel as though, why should they have to sit in a lesser spot?
Correct. And so then you get this kind of... thing where you're having to manage people who decide that they should sit, wherever they like. So I agree. To me, I think the thing is, you go, well, assuming nobody comes down with COVID in the next week or so, I'm assuming we can't be far off allowing full crowds back. But I think they had to do it one way and all the rest of it. But to me, I would have thought 30,000 would appear to be a number that's not necessarily twice as safe as having 60,000 in.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
No,
so,
that does.
Anyway, it was very enjoyable. Looking forward to getting online tomorrow and going through the process to get my tickets to West Coast and Collingwood this Sunday.
Yep. Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. We're back in town. Now, let's get to the good part.
Well, shall we say, actually, but before we go on to say what we're drinking, just want to acknowledge we've got obviously top fan Simon, as we'd expect, would be on there this evening. And Felix Meister. I think Felix must be banging on the door for top fan status at any stage now.
Well,
him and Simon, the Poley brothers.
I would have to say so, but again, not having any
control over
understanding whatsoever. So please, if anyone thinks we're playing favourites with this top fan thing,
I mean, the only thing I can
suggest far
to
too
Felix,
much credit.
The only thing I can suggest to Felix is maybe to send us a carton of beer.
Yes.
That may or may not work because we have no control. But either way, we'll be quite happy with that. So
what we could then do is drink that carton of beer while we are Googling how to make Felix a top fan.
Can anybody, maybe someone, Simon's watching, Simon Polly. How are you, Simon? Maybe Simon can check for us how you become a top fan. It'd be good if maybe they can become top fans this evening. We can celebrate top fan. So Felix got I was, then I got banned. Did we ban Felix?
No.
Maybe Simon banned him. Maybe Simon's got control. Maybe top fan Simon Johnson has more control of our page than we think.
Simon, you're going to need to let me know what seat you would usually sit in, and I might just go and sit in it and spill my beer or something this week.
Yeah, there's an idea. Anyway, well, what are you drinking?
Mate, I'm canned today, and thank you to Brian Grenholz for the heads up.
The recommendation.
Just the awareness that it was being canned today. So this is as fresh as gets. It's Blaster, which, as you all know, is literally my next door neighbour. The exploratory oat cream beast, DDH oat cream IPA. Now, they've done an oat cream before, and it was really tasty. This one we're about to find out. But I've got to tell you, try asking for your fourth one of them if you're at the bar.
Say it again.
Exploratory oat cream beast. I guess you just go the oat one, please.
Or just take the can up and just throw the can over the counter. Give me another one of them.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Really nice. And you've got one I wanted to try. But I haven't seen it.
Well, I know Brian yet again was very excited when I mentioned I was going to try this. I've not had this before. The Pirate Life Masala Spice Porter, 6.4%. I don't know if it's got anything of relevance on the side here. Nothing particularly. But no. Anyway, cheers to you. Let's have a taste.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Cheers. Now, Pirate Life have been cranking out some good ones.
Oh, wow.
Good.
That's really unusual, as you'd expect it to be, it being masala spiced.
Now, given that we're now probably getting to, well, I won't say getting towards the end of winter, but getting through winter, what would you reckon of the ports and the dark ales and the stouts, porters, I should say, that you've tried? What do you have a favourite? Do you have one that really, really stood out?
I do. I have a clear favourite, actually.
Yeah.
And that still stands as the Baltic Midnight Porter down at Season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had that one. That's nice.
That's clearly my favourite. I just think it's a really well balanced. There's plenty of very good beers and plenty of excellent beers out there, let's be honest. It's very, but for me and my palate, I think that was spot on for me. I love that beer.
I had three that I reckon were real standouts in this department. one, I have to go the Blaster Big Brekkie of Champs. And
see, I've not tried that one still, because remember the time we met up.
Yes,
I was driving.
You were
that day,
driving.
so
Yeah, well, you
that's
must.
quite a heavy beer. So I did the sensible thing, and I said,
Yeah.
mate, next time for that one.
Yeah, that's. But that is a really good one, and I've had it both out of the can and on tap, and I rate it highly. Both. The other one is the Cheeky Monkey Silverback. Now that. And that is aged in Shiraz barrels or something stupid like that. That is insanely good. And the other one is another Cheeky Monkey. They did they call it it's a pastry stout, but it's the last one I can see. It's got the gingerbread house on the tin and whatnot. I'd have to have a look for it again. I've seen it a few times on Perth Beer Snobs, and it is really quite nice. So that's a couple that I've had there.
Yeah. Well, Felix has just mentioned, because obviously, and we don't normally talk about all these things on the running show, but sorry, not running show. Last night, obviously, we did get down to seasonal because Perth Pub Runners launched down there last night. We had a nice little turnout for our first inaugural run, which will be meeting down at seasonal every Monday evening at 6 p.m. So for those that want to come and join us for a walk or a run, whatever distance, wherever you want to go, as long as you come back and enjoy us for a beer, enjoy a beer with us, I should say, that would be marvellous. But it looks like Felix and Simon walked away with a growler of Hey Brew last night. So which was good. So I was just said to Felix last night, I'd tried all the beers down there, but I don't know that I'd actually had that one. So I'll have to check that out.
The beauty is they're often, and this time of year, brewers seem to be just going nuts with new types of beers. It's
It's I don't know enough about it now. I know it's evolved so rapidly, but obviously, that they're just making tweaks to some particular brews. They must have particular brews there, and they go, okay, this has a few various directions it can go in if we add a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this. So they've got flexibility to move and create a couple of brews off the back of one core brew, essentially. I think that's why they're able to pump them out so quickly.
Yeah, I've got to admit I don't understand it, and I know you and Brian, when you had Brian on the show, were talking about brewing again. And
Brian and I have been great about talking about brewing, but
yes.
More importantly, Brian has been putting it into action of late.
No, Brian has, but Brian's got the gear. But I have come up with a potential solution, and it was inspired a bit by Brian, and I'm dropping this on you live on air. Bit like wedding proposals at the footy where you really can't say no.
Right, when the big camera's on you and you're on the big screen.
Exactly right. Okay. Yeah. I reckon, just there's an aside, just a little I've noticed this. Blokes who propose in big public settings are possibly a little bit not 100% sure they're going to get the answer they're after.
Yeah, they're putting the squeeze on.
Correct. There's a bit of the social pressure might get me over the line.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just an observation. I could be wrong. Where was no? So Brian has been brewing and been sending through photos. He's also sent through photos to our other little group about or showing pictures of his kegerator. Now that got me thinking. I've long wanted to have chilled tap beer at home. So I'm looking at the idea of getting/making one of these kegerators. The making seems a little bit more exciting and a bit more cost effective. But then he suggested, and a few other people I've seen it around, that we go to one of these homebrew places or the you brew it type arrangements. Now there's one down in Canning Vale, and I had a look at it.
There's one in Bayswater as well. So
okay. Well, maybe
it's possibly the one Brian goes to. So
okay, but the beauty is you rock up there, put your brew there. They store it in their kegs. You get your keg, later and then take it home. Now, it produces something like 50 or 60 litres of beer, which is a lot of beer. So what I'm thinking, maybe you and I could do a brew and go halves in that brew and take 25 litres each.
Sure.
And that makes it a little bit more reasonable to on a price.
Well, I love that idea. I think we're definitely doing that.
But I'm not keen on the bottling aspect of it, of washing bottles and all the rest of it. I think some sort of keg arrangement is the go. So anyway, that's.
And we can do that for our get together too, can't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Take a couple of kegs along.
Yes, that's what I thought. So,
Like that.
So that's rather than, I mean, initially invest in all the equipment to brew again and then go, oh, geez, I'm no good at this, or it's not.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Quite possibly, I don't know. So, but
I think we're finding, Brian and I, finding it just time constraints, particularly difficult.
Yes,
just trying to tee up a time where we can get together and do
this
it.
Apparently takes an hour. Put your brew down, and then about another hour to. Although I imagine it's quite quick to get it back into your keg, and then another hour to go from there. So 2 weeks later. So that seems a little little easier and a little more interesting. So I'll do a little more research on that.
Sounds good, mate.
And
I'm really keen on that. Maybe we'll have to do a show down there and go and meet the chaps down there. But yeah, wherever works.
I did not realise there was one in Bayswater, but that is closer to both of us, really, than Canning Vale. So, I'll have a look at that. So, yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, shall we jump into, mate, what's got your goat this week?
Oh, this is a funny one, right? So, but it has got my goat a little bit. So, I'll give you a bit of background. Obviously, Victoria are having some troubles, and after midnight tonight, they've all got to wear masks. Right, and we've seen a bit over in America where people regard wearing of masks as people, including the bloke who runs the joint, regard wearing of masks as somehow a impingement on their freedom, etc. And there's been a whole political thing over in the US about that, and I've noticed, and this is not the first thing, but people seem to be importing like American political templates to here. And you get people who are regularly supporting Trump. And don't get me wrong, it's important to take an interest on these things.
Yeah.
Because it is important who is the president of America to us, because we're an ally and we go along with all that and all the rest of it. And, if they piss off China, that could be bad for us and all the rest of it. So there's that. But then this wholesale, almost cut and pasting of American political dogma into local situations. And I've seen it a little bit with the mask thing, where people say, oh, it's an impingement on my freedom. I should not be forced to do this. And I go, well, so's wearing a seatbelt in a way. And there are some libertarians who really, seatbelts and not letting kids smoke is an impingement on rights. So there's I don't know. Like I say, that's just something that got my goat just recently. I'm thinking, really, is that something you genuinely believe, or have you been following some right-wing page in America and you've imported that, or left-wing? I mean, I don't really like those terms, but anyway, so that's just gotten my goat just recently. Yeah.
No, fair enough too. But mine's probably a little bit lighter than yet.
Well, that's lighten the mood by all means.
Well, there'll be, but no less annoying. You know what gets my goat? No caller ID. When people call you with no caller ID.
Oh yeah.
That really gets my goat.
We get it a bit with work calls. So with banks ringing with decisions, some of the banks will come through as no caller ID. Some of them have relatively recognisable numbers, if not the exact number, but certainly you'll go, oh, that time of day, that's going to be ANZ, or that's going to be. But yeah, some of them come through as private number or no caller ID. And
well, it's generally, might be a charity group or those questionnaire things or whatever. Where I've generally found to be the case, but it's still like no less annoying because you think, oh, do I really want to answer this?
Yeah, I think you're less inclined to answer it if you don't know who it is.
Of course, I certainly am.
Yeah,
because you don't know. And the other thing of this is that no caller, they're never going to leave a message.
No, they don't. Yeah, and then you don't know who it was.
So that makes it even worse. So you think, because you could be busy. I could be at work and my phone rings, and if it's Sam or one of the kids or something like that, and even if I'm a bit busy, I'll pick the phone up quickly and say, I'm a bit busy, I'll call you back. But if it's a no caller ID, I'm not going to pick it up.
No.
Because I don't know how long you're going to be on the phone for and all that type of thing. Yeah. But you don't know what it is. So you're left pondering and wondering for the remainder of the day as to who it was and how important was it.
Yeah. Now, on that, I don't have a landline anymore. I still have a number, but we don't.
No, I don't either. No.
Most people don't. But thinking about the telemarketing calls, and a lot of those private numbers are telemarketing calls. What do you think their strike rate is? Ignoring the scammers who clearly do catch people, because you hear stories on the news all the time of people who got caught out for whatever reason. But the percentage of hits, if you like, for cold call telemarketing.
Oh, look, I reckon it's got to have reduced dramatically, because there are a few reasons for this. Is, as you know, as a society now, we are so prevalent with sending text messages over voice calls.
Yes.
So as probably our primary mode of communication. So people almost feel a little bit affronted when their phone starts to ring, even from a family member, let alone a stranger.
Yeah, could this have been done via a text? Yes.
Yeah, yes, So I think it's almost, you're picking up the phone. Geez, you've annoyed me. I'm watching the football or something like that. How rude of you to phone me. Couldn't you have texted? You pick up the phone and then, lo and behold, it's someone trying to sell you, a trip to the Bahamas, or whatever it may be. And I just can't help think, particularly now that not many people have landlines, and I firmly believe that's the case, except for perhaps the elderly. But mind you, I think the elderly are probably quite happy to take those calls just to have a conversation and someone to speak with. But look, I think by and large, phoning people on mobile devices, when they're on the move, not knowing where they are, what time of the day to ring, it would be a terrible job.
Oh, it'd be a terrible job, and I'm just thinking the strike rate can't be great, and yet people still persist with it. So, I just wonder how it's viable. But anyway, that's an aside. That was a good one. So, do we want to talk about Wanker of the Week next?
Yeah, have you got one?
I've got a nomination, and I mentioned this to you, I think, Thursday night. Old mate who decided to run onto the field on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Interrupting the game. Took his shirt off. Not exactly, packing the kind of body that he needs to be getting around with his shirt off. Now,
I didn't see any footage, and I just want to dump. This wasn't Bill, was it?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No. 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 He gets onto the field. Probably jumps on. Maybe at the. If there was a 25-metre arc, he would have been at the corner of that. He did not quite make the 50-metre arc before the ground security got him to ground. So,
he ran out of steam, lack of fitness, perhaps? No pre-season?
Well, he's been I would say on the cans, but I would probably say more on the glass barbecue, given that his.
Well, not on the cans. He'd been on the plastic cups.
Yes, well, yeah, but no, I'd say he smoked something else, to be honest. So, although maybe he would have run a bit quicker then. So, all right, wanker of the week. We all know you don't run onto the field, right? Now, the next day he's been charged, he's been released, told to go home for 2 weeks and sit on his own because he's apparently got to self-isolate now because he's been into a quarantine area. But he gives an interview to Channel 7 or something. Now, I just cannot believe this guy looked stupid, right? This guy looked stupid. And then he opened his mouth. And just, I urge anyone to seek out the video. If Simon Johnson is on here, perhaps he could post the link. I will try to do it afterwards. But basically, old mate said he wasn't aware that you weren't allowed to run onto the field. Now, don't know about that, mate. Come on. Did you see everyone else doing it? He said he thought it would be all right because everybody does it all the time. Again, not sure where you got that information. Wasn't aware.
Clutching at straws, quite clearly. He didn't think through this, did he? He didn't think that he might have to be accountable and come up with any answers.
Well, and the thing is,
he wasn't prepared.
He wasn't prepared.
Did he think he was going to get away?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
maybe he's one of those people so full of self-confidence, he didn't even consider that he might get caught.
Well, the thing is, he's gone, I didn't know.
I love that. Thinking, shit, I got caught. They got me.
The bit I loved about this, or didn't love, but I just thought it was bizarre. He goes, I wasn't aware the fine was 50. I knew there'd be a fine, but I can't afford 50. Now, the fine, I believe, the reason the fine is at 50 is because you've entered a COVID quarantine area thing. So that's the penalty's up. But apparently the penalty's 12 or 18 grand as is. Right? So this bloke, I don't think, could afford the 12 or 10 or 18 or whatever it is. So there's no point in bitching about the fact that they put the fine up because he's like...
He was never in the market, was he?
No, that's right. It's a bit like saying, oh, I can't afford.
It's like going to an auction and bidding when knowing you can't buy the property.
You're bidding early. Well, and you're going, oh, hopefully I'm out before I can.
Hopefully someone trumps me because I'm in real trouble here.
Yeah. If I forget to stop, yeah.
I've got a house I can't afford.
So how much can you afford, sir? Oh, no, none of it, really.
Yeah.
None of the bids I made were any good.
No, but it was nice being here.
Yeah, I just thought people were waving.
Yeah.
So, so really, really just a dead set wanker performance. But probably...
I like that one. I don't have one anyway this week, I must say. Other than, I'm not even going to rate, but Clive Palmer and his carry-on being investigated by ASIC over his misdirection of funds. But that's not unexpected.
I would have thought, my biggest thing is that ASIC took so long with this. It was clearly the case that there was money going back and forth everywhere.
Yeah. What was the hold-up in the investigation?
Yeah, realistically. And I would think... what I would think would probably happen is the penalty might be so limp that it wouldn't necessarily outweigh the proceeds of the crime. See, to me, what you need to do is actually, ban him from being a I don't know, make it some sort of thing that he can't become a director. But yes, mate, he's a bit of a perennial. He's like old mate Pete Evans.
Yes.
Really, it's pointless.
Well, that's why I didn't want to raise him. But we need to acknowledge his behaviour.
Yes.
We don't need to glorify it.
Not at all. Not at all. So, should we go on to now? Well, we've kind of done hobbies in a little way because we've talked about brewing. So we have done hobbies. So, did you want to talk about?
Well, I've got something. We talk about one of our hobbies. Obviously, this is one of our hobbies: running and enjoying a quiet beer together. How are you finding that, by the way?
Loving it. Absolutely, really nice. You seem to be talking too much because your glasses.
I am actually, but this is quite nice. It was.
I've got one of those magic glasses that just fills itself.
Yes, we need one of those too. Actually, that's fine. But look, as we said, and I raised this. I saw this a bit earlier. I thought this was quite hilarious, but a little bit frightening as well. Man's bladder explodes after holding in pee for 18 hours after a beer binge. Can I read this to you?
Yes, please.
So, in an incident that redefined sleeping it off, a Chinese man's bladder burst when he unknowingly held in his pee for 18 hours after binging on booze. The 40-year-old man, identified only as Mr. Who, reportedly fell asleep, passed out, after downing 10 bottles of beer. He's a bit of a lightweight.
Yeah.
During a heavy drinking session. Come on, Mr. Who. The night prior, without heeding nature's call once. After experiencing searing abdominal pains, the lager-logged soul reported to the People's Hospital in Zhejiang, eastern China, where a CT scan revealed that his bladder was torn in 3 places. Oh.
You know how there's a Simpsons episode for everything? Have you seen the one where they're out on a car trip and Grandpa wants to go for a pee?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're making good time. You know, we're not going to go. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, no, I can't. Oh, and I feel like my kidneys are going to explode. And the next thing is Dr. Hibbert putting it's an X-ray, which it wouldn't be, but yeah, the scan on the thing going, and here you can see where his kidneys have exploded. And Homer goes, I blame myself. And Marge just sits around and goes, yeah, well, that's because it's your fault. Like, you know,
well, yeah, exactly.
That's what it reminds me of. Now, how is it? I would have thought, surely his body just would have wet himself.
Well, yeah.
Like, wouldn't he have just woken up and gone, well, it was a big night, but I've wet my pants.
Yeah, I didn't quite make it to the toilet.
Yeah.
But clearly not. That's maybe mind over matter. I don't know. It's almost impressive.
Well, yeah, like, that is bizarre. I would have thought there'd be plenty of examples where people had, slept through all sorts of shenanigans. But that was
it's weird, isn't it? Whilst I've got that, can I do one more? Because we're both. I mean, your beard's coming along. Have you actually trimmed? Have you been shaping yours?
Yes, a little bit, mate.
I can see. Yeah.
No, there's a bit of work done.
And it's a bit hard to tell through here. I'm just trying to pick up the different coloured, the different hues there. Yeah. Obviously, we've both got our fair share of grey, but you've got a
little bit of dark stuff has come through, which I'm very impressed with.
That's impressive.
So, it's due for a tidy up.
Well, I saw another one today, and I thought, beards. You know what? Well, they're telling me here, beards evolved. You know why beards, not beers, beards evolved? Take a guess.
Oh, I thought it was just
in the early days. This was actually a study.
Of course.
A Swiss study. Beards evolved so men could take punches to the head. Yeah, exactly. So men sporting big, bountiful beards might have a reason to feel more confident. and not just because women might be more sexually attracted.
Is this a Viking thing?
Well, perhaps. This was in the New York Post. Research shows that flowing facial hair might have evolved to help fight hungry humans better absorb blows to the head, according to a new study published in the journal Integrative Organismal Biology. The findings are the culmination of several research projects by the same team on human resilience, including experiments on the ability of the human face to take a punch.
Okay, all right. I'm all for science, so this is great. But I don't think my beard is in any way ready to absorb a punch. Yours may be. It looks a lot thicker.
Well,
We do, however, have some followers and some watchers with some seriously good beard action. So what I'd like people to look at, and they can send us the videos if they like.
I'm sort of picturing these people punching themselves in the face at home.
That's what I'm asking. I want people to do the research, punch themselves in the face, and see whether they feel.
Should we be encouraging that type of behaviour?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no. It's science. I'm not asking you to go around and punch anybody else. That'd be frowned upon. But I'm saying if you want to punch yourself in the face and see whether the beard takes any of the blows, we support doing further research. I just cannot see how even the bushiest of beards, I mean, Ned Kelly had a beard, but he still put a tin hat on, didn't he? I mean, he wore a face.
I've got a theory around that, because you know Ned with his tin hat on. He took a few bullets, obviously, to the tin hat.
Well,
do you think that with all that beard in there, that would have acted as sort of some kind of sound, or would have reduced the vibration and the intensity of the shells hitting the?
I can imagine a bullet hitting that hat would be quite noisy.
And do you think the beard-filled helmet would have helped to absorb some of that?
Well,
that's an answer. That's a question.
Well, okay, once again, anyone else with a flowing beard and a little bit of metalworking skills, perhaps.
Well, you don't even.
I'm not suggesting you get people to shoot at your metal hat either, but
just maybe an old
throw a rock at it.
An old tin can, an old paint tin, maybe. Just go out in the backyard with a paint tin. Put it on your head.
Oh yeah. I'm just waiting for someone to message us and say, I'm at I've got a paint tin stuck.
Now what am I going to do?
It's your fault.
That's right. Clearly. Oh, well.
Anyone who wants to do any further research into any of that, I'm all for the science. But please don't anyone punch me in the face, because my beard is immature and it's not ready for punches to the head yet. Yeah. Nor am I, for that matter. I've won a lot of fights I've been in by 100 metres. Simon's nailed it. You need a control group. Yes, half a beard. That's
well, look, did you see this? I didn't see this before. Susan Poley's posted. Obviously, Susie is the lovely wife of Felix. So Felix, this is on our page. Felix Meister and Simon in there. Oh no, it looks like Simon must be at Felix's house.
I think so.
Having a family night, watching us live. So look, that's riveting. They've got twisties. My only question being is, why did you go for cheese twisties over chicken?
Oh, this is an age old. See, I like the chicken twisties, but I'm in a group of one. Oh,
No, I'm a big chicken twisty.
I love them, but Tracy doesn't. So at home, it's cheese twisties. If I happen to get twisties while I'm out and about on my own, then I'll go chicken.
So I'm going to ask the Polies to please explain. I'm hoping they're out of stock of the chicken.
I love cheese twisties, though. I reckon twisties are all over Cheezels, full stop, though. That's it.
No, there's no question there. So, yes. So,
No,
do you have any conspiracy theories?
I do have a conspiracy theory that I have heard about. Look, it's a bit heavy again, but have you heard of QAnon?
No.
Right. So this is a far right conspiracy theory. This is relatively new in terms of, as I've said before, cheese and bacon twisties.
Who's that?
No, that's what Felix says. He's got cheese and bacon.
I've not even seen these. Has he written this somewhere?
Eh?
Has he written this?
Yeah, no, cheese and bacon. One, it's cheese and bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right.
Cheese and bacon.
So, basically, this is, you are going to love this. And I know I ranted about chicken. There's no banana flavour. I would eat banana flavour.
Twisties?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, particularly if it was lolly banana flavour.
Anyway, so
QAnon.
Tell me more about this QAnon
alleged. So this basically comes from, I think it was a Reddit poster initially called Q, or QAnon. Sorry, 4chan, which is, I think, a bit like Reddit. Mate, I'm not across all this stuff, but I really need to go more into it. But essentially, it is a far-right conspiracy theory that there is a worldwide cabal of Satan worship. I'm reading this directly from its Wikipedia page. A worldwide cabal of Satan worshipping paedophiles who rule the world. Essentially, they control everything. They control politicians and the world media. They control Hollywood, and they cover up their existence. And they would have continued ruling the world were it not for the election of President Donald Trump. Right? So this is where it gets a little interesting, because otherwise it's just a bit of a shake on the old lizard people run the world conspiracy. So now, in this conspiracy theory, Donald Trump knows all the wrongdoing, and the reason for his election was to put an end to them. So this is the showdown that's coming from the evil rulers from Donald Trump. And we would be ignorant of this if it wasn't for QAnon. And then where there was something. Yes, okay. And their belief is that there will be an imminent event known as the Storm, in which thousands of people will be arrested, possibly sent to Guantanamo Bay, or face military tribunals. And, this is so it's kind of like a second coming type thing, but Trump is the man to bring it all to a head. Look, there's a lot on it. These supporters show up at Trump rallies. They believe he's the one.
He's the chosen one.
Yes, and
the golden child, is he?
He is the one to bring this cabal of devil worshippers to ground. So yes, it's a it's a ripper, and it's a big one. It's like one of those ones where you go, righto. So, like, it's like I say, the initial trope is that it's like, we're run by this vast conspiracy of people and they control everything, which is not new. The new bit is that the guy to bring them down is thing. And there was something else I read on it that just struck me as really. Oh, yes. Q also claimed that Donald Trump feigned collusion with Russians to enlist Robert Mueller to join him in exposing the ring and preventing a coup d'etat by Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and George Soros. I've mentioned George Soros before. He's the one they love to hate. And so it's a river, but I heard about it a week or so ago, and I've been thinking about it a little bit, and it's like I say, it draws on a lot of the other ones, but it is a fairly new one.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think that's how they evolve, isn't it? Essentially, a lot of them will come off the back of other ones, and people add. It's a bit like Chinese whispers. People add their own little things to them.
Yes,
flesh them out a bit more.
It is a little bit like that, and I think they do adapt theirs and then throw their own current overlays. And I'm always interested that it does seem to need a almost a characters in it. There need to be people in it, but it just strikes me. You go, these people who believe in. Oh, now the interesting part, the thing I heard it in context to is a few of the people who believe this stuff have won primaries in America to be elected to the Congress and so forth. So, so it's quite possible that there will be believers of this sort of stuff in the Congress next year after the elections are held this year. So,
a little frightening itself, isn't it?
Well,
and you know, something else which I think is of great concern is obviously with Trump in government at the moment, but when his time comes, and which won't be soon enough for the majority of us, and someone else takes the mantle, they're going to have the easiest job in the world, because whoever steps in behind Donald Trump is going to be seen as a martyr and somebody, as long as they don't do anything crazy, and they can be super conservative and not even make any adverse decisions, and they can just plot along and they'll be seen as a saviour. But the concern being is it opens the door for people such as that to come through. And because Trump is so outlandish in his behaviour and his thought processes, is that it might almost go under the radar as normal behaviour.
I agree with you. I think it would make Kanye West. Yeah, thanks, Simon. It makes. I'm just trying to. From my reading of it, it's very hard for presidents to get anything done, even if they are popular, because there is so much.
Oh, well, we saw that with Obama with the gun laws, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
He was so frustrated with his inability to be able to change.
And he was largely blocked on a lot of things. And then you have a situation where some of the things he did achieve, the first 2 years of the next administration are hell-bent on undoing, whether they have a better replacement or not. So, yeah, I think the big problem is they do seem to be very divided along, almost extremities.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know what the future is for them, but what it results in. I mean, we're getting very serious in the political hour of the show. It results in America's power in the world declining simply because they lose credibility amongst other countries. So where we look to them for leadership now,
Yeah,
I think we less so, and that's not just because of Trump. That's a long held process that they've gotten to over, well, probably my lifetime.
isn't it interesting though? We've seen a real shift over the last few years of, as we know, over the decades, you had, back to America and Russia being the powerhouse, and obviously Great Britain. But now a lot of people are looking at leadership from places like New Zealand, even Australia to some extent, and a lot of smaller countries as well. They're turning their eye to us for leadership, and not necessarily because we're the biggest, but because we're just simply doing many things right.
Yeah, you'd hope so. But I think the other thing is, I think,
and by all means, when I say doing many things right, doesn't mean we're doing everything right.
Well, we're far from it. But
obviously, always a lot of room for improvement. But I think essentially, every effort is being made. I think it's being shown that people are trying to make the right decisions. We only have to look at Ern over in New Zealand and show, I suppose, just her way, of handling things, and just with her personality and compassion, I suppose, as well. So it's showing that there is a new way to lead, and it's not about being at the table all the time, and it's not always about being right.
I think the biggest thing that the C-bomb has shown is that when governments listen to experts and then explain why things are and look to take people along with the decisions, notwithstanding, I suppose, some outliers around the place, then people tend to go, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
It's when we turn everything into a political debate, and worse still when we try and frame it as right left, which I think is how America has gone, and we do run the risk of going down that path because, like I say, we're importing a lot of that. I think that there's that danger that we stop listening to experts and we just start listening to the loudest voice in the room, and that's the worry. Whereas coronavirus has turned around and said, well, look, we are one of the countries like New Zealand that listen to the experts. And by and large, although, we are still having a hard time of it in some places, far, far better off than the leaders of the free world, the United States, the UK.
Well, I think because largely, the results on COVID are largely measurable, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
The outcomes are measurable.
And
where a lot of other things these days, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors involved, where the outcome can be almost
longer time too.
Absolutely, and other things can get in the way. Creative excuses can be formed to I suppose, counter any, I suppose, advances that they've made or any issues that crop up in the interim over the term of anybody who's in office. So, but I mean, because COVID has come across us so quickly and so rapidly, where we needed quick and confident leadership, I suppose, as we've experienced here in WA, and notwithstanding the fact we have many benefits which have allowed us to get that.
We fully take advantage of those benefits.
So we all acknowledge and recognise that, but still, you've still got to make the right call. But anyway,
absolutely. There was something there I wanted to bring forth, but no, that's fine. But that's QAnon for people, for those who want to dig deeper.
We'll check that one out.
Yes, and again, if you've got any conspiracy theories or the like, well, I've got another one, mate. I forget where I might have discussed this with you. but this is a conspiracy theory. Right? Now, I've heard this from two separate sources, right? Were you fond of a Crown Lager back in the day?
Yeah, I think we all were, weren't we?
I think, well, I have a little bit of a theory that Crown Lager was how you showed that you'd had a bit of a bonus at work, or you'd maybe work a bit of overtime, you're a bit flash. Well, at the time, and this is, I mean, a long time ago, before we could afford to drink all these fancy beers, etc., and before anyone had ever heard of a pale ale, the situation was a neighbour of mine suggested that Crown Lagers were just Carlton Draft in a fancy bottle. So I just started buying Carlton Draft from then, and really it wasn't too bad. Somebody else suggested to me the other day that it was Foster's in a fancy bottle. So my conspiracy theory is that the only thing fancy about Crown Lager is the bottle. So I'll leave people to ponder on that, given that we're a show.
I think you're quite right. I think they but aren't we seeing that now? Is when we're going into a bottle shop now, we walk in and there's all these flash-looking cans.
I love the look of some cans.
And colourful cans and all these poppy
into
cans.
recycling.
Yeah. So really, as a consumer, that's all we've got to go off, because we don't know too much about it because the market's moving so rapidly.
Yes.
So really, it's what's bright and shiny and catches your eye, you're going to purchase.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, well, you're not going to know until you get home. Are you going to buy it again? Well, you might at one stage, but not necessarily next time you go in, because there's so many others still yet to try.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. And then, it's getting another one. Has it got out of hand? Do you think it has?
I believe it has. I believe the market has. I mean, from a consumer's point of view, it's not necessarily that thing, but from a as you can imagine, from a player in the craft beer market, you don't have to be very careful, because their product has a very limited shelf life at the moment.
Yeah. But I do think it's got a little bit to the point, though. Where are you going? A little bit like, I have to try all of this and all the rest of it. Whereas there used to be a time where people would just drink.
Well, you'd be loyal, wouldn't you? You'd be loyal to a beer.
Loyal to a brand, yes.
What do you drink? This is my beer.
Yes.
This is what I drink.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, and go back even further, we had the Bush Chook episode last week where, obviously the thing was that was kind of all that was available. And that's, that's what we were talking on the weekend. The fact that Australia has sold Foster's to the world and nobody here drinks it.
Yes. You know what? Even I'd go as far as to say, I reckon there's some people under the age of 24 who wouldn't have even known what Foster's is. They wouldn't even be able to tell you what the can looks like.
Well, I can remember what the can looks like, but I cannot remember seeing it at the bottle shop at all recently. Right,
no.
So
when's the last time you think you saw it on tap in a pub? I reckon it's got to be 20 years ago.
I could not tell you. The last time I think I saw it anywhere, I reckon was the supermarket in Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe I'm just walking straight past it at the bottle shop. So. Once again, BishandtheBeard watchers, I'd like to see anyone, if they're down at their local botlo,
take a picture. If you see any Fosters,
take a
photo of it.
A Foster's can in the fridge or a box of Foster's. We want to know if it's still getting around or we've sent it all overseas. Not that we're bothered about it. What do you reckon, Sinead? Foster's next week?
I'd like to taste Foster's, yeah.
I could not tell you what it tasted like. And I don't have unlike the export, which I could say to you is sweeter now than it was.
Can we do that? can we see if we can find some Fosters and
It's
do a tasting? But also, let's dig up a bit of history on where it is, if anyone can tell us, I'd love to see where it is.
Do you know?
Is anyone still doing it on tap?
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Well, maybe we'll post something in the Perth Beer Snobs. We might get kicked out of that group if we keep.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting it. Yeah, we're pushing the boundary. I think we're upsetting a few people on there.
I must say, I find some of it a little snobby. Which
well, to be honest, and I don't mind saying this, but I've had to fine tune my notifications on there because too much of it was people are blowing wind up their own arse about these beers that they know very little about.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we don't pretend to know all things about all beers. We're enthusiastic, I think. I'm certainly an enthusiastic beer.
I think so, but I'm also of the view that I don't care if you're the only person in Perth to have a can of that because that's of no value to me. It's like walking into the shop and he goes, I sold the last one last week. And you go, well, why did you even tell me that? I don't have any. That's all I need to know. So Simon's telling us that he had some at a pub at Edmonton in the UK. So that's a fair trip to make at the moment. And it was their best seller. Fuck, really? Mind you, that was the other thing we were talking about. Remember when, again, we need to do a whole episode. We might next week, subject without notice. So we will come back to this topic, the evolution, because we're about the same age, I think. The evolution of our beer drinking through the so special episode. We won't do any of the conspiracy theories unless it's a conspiracy theory, or we might do Wank of the Week if someone holds up. But we really...
So we're saying starting from legal drinking age at 18, and we'll do a bit of a timeline.
Well, we can start earlier. I mean, I'm sure my parents aren't going to ring me up and say, you were drinking at 16? We never knew.
You're at no risk of being grounded, you believe?
No, I believe I'm pretty safe on that front. I'll tell you a great story about that. Maybe next week. No, I won't. We're out of time. Remind me to tell you the story about Ken's dad's sampler bottles.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, there we go. I like this because this is like one of those very clever shows that give you a bit of a hook.
Oh, we're going to leave on a cliffhanger.
So you know what? Because of that, I'll be back next week.
Yes. At least that's one of us.
Because I want to hear it.
Okay, that's great. So, but what I'm thinking is it's quite clear, Foster's be damned, because I don't reckon I've ever drunk more than 4 cans of it. But it's quite clear that we clearly started on export because that's what our dads drank or whatever. And so we've kind of done that chapter. And then some of the why we drank what we did. And I'm not talking boozy stories necessarily, but just to give a taster.
This is good. I like this.
And
maybe what we can do, because we might not find Fosters.
No.
How about we bring a few beers each, maybe 2 to 3 each.
That are kind of blasts from the past.
Of blasts of the past, of beers that meant something to you.
At some point. Fantastic.
Is there a beer that you had, and what occasion was it, and why is it memorable?
Well, I'll just tell you a quick one. When I first moved back from Carnarvon, so I'm about 18, 19, and my mates are all drinking this beer called Best Bitter, right? And it came from South Australia, and it was $16 a carton at Knox's in Midland there. So 24 cans for $16. So at the time, a carton of export you'd get for about 24, right? So it was considerably cheaper. So we would buy this and we'd drink it and we would rave about the taste, rave about it. And because we had no money, so we'd drink this Best Beer. You see a lot of photos of us at that age and we're drinking this. And we'd say, shit, this is good. Even if it was as much as export, I'd still buy it. Well, sure enough, eventually the price went back up because the price war finished or it was new in the state or whatever. I haven't had a can since.
No.
So
Yeah.
I'll be looking for a can of that. I doubt we'll find it.
This will be fun. I look forward to that. But mate, before we do head off, because we could go on for hours as we always do.
Good. But so can I just say before we do, so next week, the history of our drinking, but if people want to message us and tell us about particular drinks, doesn't have to be beer.
That meant something
to them.
And why was it memorable?
Particular age group and why was it memorable? And believe me, we don't need to hear the spewing story about Fruity Moselle because we've all got one of them. We're just talking about something that maybe was particularly memorable. Felix, I don't know why you do Foster's on tap, but if you find a place, I'm going to have some. So rate your beers, before you...
I'm going to... This was... I've got it. Brian's going to be so disappointed in me because I know Brian has been so keen to try.
Brian might like it though.
Well, he might do. And maybe Brian, you might love this beer.
And
Brian.
this is my problem with the beer snobs thing because it's all personal taste.
Yeah, absolutely that.
I love this. Who cares what anyone else likes? Did you like it? That's
look. It wasn't offensive. I'm going to give it a 3.
okay.
I found the sort of masala spice didn't really fit with the porter. It just didn't sit well in the mouth. I think it almost had a soapy feel, which was really really not pleasant. I think I had periods there through drinking, and I thought, maybe this is going. I'm forever the optimist, so I want to give every opportunity. But if I'm being absolutely honest, I was left with a bit of a soapy sort of residue in my mouth almost, and I didn't find that pleasant. But that might just be me. But I can see what they're trying to do, and I think that the balance of the beer is okay, but just that sort of left with that soapy sort of residue in my mouth. I'm going to give it a 3, but that might be a little generous.
Was there not enough masala?
Perhaps, yeah, or maybe they needed to balance it off with another kind of spice too, because it was quite sour, but led to a sort of a soapy.
I'm finding with a few of these, they're hitting us with, this is what we've flavoured and seasoned it with, but they haven't really amped it up. So to me, like if you want to make
they haven't committed to that flavour.
Yeah, it's like it's in there, but you're going to have to pick it out.
Go find it.
I had there's 2, the Rocky Ridge chopped coconut porter and the Little Creatures chopped coconut porter as well. Basically, essentially a similar stuff. The coconut must still be coming from the tropics. Yes, the chocolate flavour was there, but there was just no. And I wanted to.
That's what I found with that. I think sometimes, I must say, I think they're focusing so much on all the artwork of the cans and promoting it that they're not spending enough time. And maybe that's the problem with the craft beer market we're in at the moment. They're so readily to get beers onto the market quickly. That they're not investing enough time in getting their product right.
Well, and sometimes with these short run things, they kind of don't have to.
No.
Because, once you realise, because you're not going to see it again next week. You go, that didn't work. Just out of interest, what did that can cost?
I don't recall now, but it would have maybe been about $8, I think.
Yeah, see, it's a fair whack to find out you don't like something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I understand that's how it works, but...
Do you think there could be a market for little taster beers? When you go to the... I don't want to go on here. We'll keep this short. But we went to Seasonal last night, and Sam tried a beer. My partner Sam tried a beer she hadn't had before, and they quite readily came up and said, "Oh, would you like to taste that first?" In a little taster.
Yeah.
Which was really polite, and I think it gave her confidence. Yes, that's lovely. I'll have one of
Yeah.
those. I think there should be that ability to buy product in a little taster thing as well, because it's not that you're going to go home just with a taster. You're going to buy the ones that you love. But if you're not sure of a beer, you're going to buy it in a little taster.
I think probably the canning price is almost equal. So canning and distribution.
Quite possibly, they'd have to work something on the packaging to make sure that it was sustainable and cost effective. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be able to be in the same sort of canister or something like that on a smaller version. But I just can't help but think that's where the market shifted.
This is where I do like growlers, etc., where you can roll into a place and say, "Could I have a taste of that? Great, now give us 2 litres of it."
Yeah, exactly that.
I do like that idea. So anyway, on to mine.
How'd you go, mate?
Oh, I loved it. Really tasty. I'm still not sure about this style of beer. I'm not sure if it's me, but it was really, really tasty, smooth. The oat cream thing, I've been drinking a lot of the dark beers because that's the thing, but this to me is the perfect wintry IPA. So it just had a bit of a warm flavour to it. So I loved it. I'm going to give it 4.5.
Well,
no, yeah, I know I'm a Blaster fanboy, so to me, they could probably put the mop bucket into a can, and I'd probably still give it a 3.5. But I enjoyed it. But again, so many nice beers down there that it does make it hard to go down to the other shops and go, give me this and that when I know I've got that down the road. I am. Mate, we've been going on far too long.
We've been rabbiting on. Let's wind this up.
I bet you the pollies are out of twisties too. Although, geez, I fancy a twisty. So we are going to end this. Fantastic. So next week, the history of BishandtheBeard drinking beer.
Yes.
We'll get archaeological too down at the bottle shop. Sounds great, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Great to catch up, and as always, get me through a pick of your beer, mate, and we'll chat soon.
As always. Okay, I'm ending the live.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.
Catch up.